Welcome to another episode of the Art Inside the Craft podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Glazier, and today's episode is a great conversation with two incredibly talented individuals that I consider Americana royalty, Larry Campbell and Teresa Williams. They are the main characters in a 10-part documentary called It Was the Music by director Mark Moskowitz and executive producer Stephen Reggio. Larry and Teresa have played with everyone from Bob Dylan to Levon Helm, Roseanne Cash, and besides Teresa, of course, one of my favorite queens of Americana country, Emmylou Harris. This series follows Larry and Teresa as they pack up their van with instruments and set out across the United States for the first time as a duo in support of their first album, self-titled Larry Campbell and Teresa Williams. Let's listen in on that conversation with Larry Campbell and Teresa Williams. I'm just super excited to have you guys both on the podcast. And I actually saw you guys here in Cedar Rapids at CSPS Hall back in 2016. And I don't know if you guys remember that, but it's a very small little hall in what we call the Nubo, the kind of the Czech area of our city. And I was just completely blown away. I mean, I've obviously followed you guys for a while, but blown away by you guys, your performance and the music and the songs. And one thing in particular, I'm also a guitar player, and so Larry's version of Blind Mary just was incredible for me.
Oh, thank you.
And
hey, I feel the same way about that song. I do.
Beautiful. And I remember seeing a B.B. King documentary where he had said that his wife actually bought him tickets to go see, I believe, Andres Segovia. And he said that playing just brought him to tears. And so I've, never come quite close to that. But that show was actually the first time that I experienced that in all of my shows. So your guys...
That's heavy.
Yeah, your guys' performance just really made a huge impact. And, like I said, I've seen you guys on numerous things and, documentaries and various things with Levon. But seeing you guys live was just so powerful. So I just kind of like to throw that out as an introduction of where I'm kind of coming from anyway.
That's just, it makes you feel like, wow, it's really true. It works. Thank you.
It's just your guys' entire set and the whole thing was just incredible. So, which kind of leads me to my next, I guess, kind of question or statement. But so the most recent thing that's kind of out for you guys is Mark Moskowitz. I hope I'm saying his name right.
Yeah,
you are.
Okay, his kind of 10-part documentary, It Was the Music, which is mostly 95% you guys, and he does a real good job of kind of introducing you guys and your accomplishments. So I won't kind of harp on that too much. But what was kind of your initial reaction, I guess, when he approached you guys and said, hey, we want to follow you around with a camera for over a year?
I roll.
That was the initial reaction. Yeah, okay, sure, cool. Yeah, we'll believe it when it happens, But we liked him immediately. That was, he was, there was something... And when he showed up the second time, that's when then we both became cool with this thing, like, okay, let's see what happens now. Let's see.
And he seemed to be passionate about it, but grounded in reality too, with just the mechanics of having to do such a project. And he's an old hand at that kind of work and knowing how to make it fly. So it wasn't like just somebody with passion with no reality under it,
Or reality and no passion under it. That's another thing,
Right. And yeah. And so you just, sometimes you just have to go on your instinct. And he had, a track with that other film about books, which I was into. And it just, I don't know, it just fell together. Some of it you just had to kind of go on instinct. My mother to this day is still saying, I wouldn't have let them do that. You shouldn't let them do that. She'll see it and she'll go, wow, this is really, well, she never says, wow, believe me. She says, this is really well done. And she's like, she's a tough critic. But in the same breath, she'll say, you shouldn't have let them do this.
Yeah.
And that is something to think about. You know, I mean, if somebody follows you around that long, I keep saying this. You're going to show your hind end in there somewhere. You know, oops.
Well, there was a lot of passion, and it was really great to kind of see you, the both of you, you know, how you work together. I guess doing different projects and songs, and I especially kind of liked when you would have the camera, Teresa, and kind of. Like, the stuff you would film was just so cool. Like,
oh, good.
Like, you were inviting us in along with it, and we were just kind of a fly on the wall. So that your camera work was fantastic.
You know, I gotta say, and if Teresa wanted another career, she's got an incredible eye for photography and for cinema. I mean, it always kind of surprises me.
Seat of the pants, believe me, seat of the pants.
How you know, she'll take these pictures or film these little scenes, and there's something really intriguing about everything she does like that. And you know, I mean, well, she's talented in a lot of ways. Let's just say that.
Oh, we're gonna get interviewed by you more often. Look what you bring out. How often can we talk to you?
I would talk with you guys every day.
Great.
And that must have, when you guys were filming that, was that during that 2016 kind of 2017 run? Because I thought I saw in one of the scenes where Andrew Combs was on the same bill as you guys, and he played here, so I figured it must have been right around that same time.
Yeah, that's the chronology, wasn't it, Teresa?
Oh Lord, you were asking the wrong person. Let's see, we did.
I think it began in 2016.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been close. I just saw that on there, and I was like, wow, that must have been right around that same time.
I think you're right. I think you are correct. Because it was after that first record came out, yeah.
That's kind of where I really started following, obviously, your guys' career was when the first record came out, which I picked up. I believe I picked that up from you guys at the show.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I helped. I was on the pledge funder thing for the other one. Kind of the cool thing that came out of that is so your song "Down on My Knees" is probably in my top 15 songs ever of.
Wow.
Oh, Jeremy.
And I had you guys write out the lyrics for it, and I mean I have all that stuff right here. I just love that song. It's just the way you two sing it together, and the phrasing and the lyrics is it's just incredible. So
wow.
But so I guess my question, instead of just heaping praise on you guys the whole interview, is from my perspective, I kind of think that series absolutely has to be seen by anybody who kind of loves American roots or Americana or country, whatever you want to call it. After you guys, have you guys seen all the episodes? I guess I should ask you that first.
I've seen, you know, I've been in New York, and I assume Teresa and her family were watching it at the same time I was, and I got through 8 of them. I have 2 more to go, and how far have you gotten, Teresa? Just 3, right?
It's hard to tell because I saw it before it was chopped up for the series. I saw big chunks of it, and then I like to say we were there when it was shot. So.
Yeah, right. And yeah, we did see a rough cut of a while ago.
I don't think he wants me to say that I haven't seen the whole thing as is.
Well, you know, we've certainly gotten deep into it. Neither of us have gotten all the way to the end. In fact, I wrote Moskowitz an email the other day saying I tell him how much I appreciated what he put into this, and that I got through 8 episodes, but I'm reluctant to go to the last 2 because then it's going to be over, you know. And my feeling about this all along has been, I can't speak for Teresa, but I think it's the same for her. There's just objectivity is kind of impossible, you know, and except to the extent that since we've had this long gap of not seeing anything to do with it, and I came back to it, you know, as it was released, and I told Mark this, the thing that I have gained objectivity about is how much is the heart and the passion that he put into it. You know, this is coming through to me now. And I think he, you know, from the beginning, it felt like he really believed in us and in what we were doing and in the power of music. And
his whole pitch was trying for me, what it meant was that he was trying to tease. I'm sorry, I'm totally interrupting you, Larry. Right. To tease out just why does music work the way it? Why does it affect you the way it affects you? The way you just described here in those songs. What about it moves us? What is that thing between the stage and the audience, or the needle and your ears? You know, the phonograph needle. Yeah, let's say phonograph. Yeah, what is that? What is that thing? And it's, I mean, I guess. Well, I'll stop.
No, it's true, and that's what is evident now to me was how passionate he was about this angle, you know, about the power of music, and that's a beautiful thing. I just, you know, that's I think music is the cure all for just about anything, and to help us get through life. And you know, I salute him for delving into this.
Yeah, your guy Mark had sent me a link, and I knocked out like all 10 episodes.
Wow!
Days.
Oh, wow!
Because it was just so great, you know, the way he presents it, and obviously all the stuff with you guys was a lot of fun. But all the other people, you know, your travels and the people you interact with, and what the music meant to those people, he does a really phenomenal job of getting his message across. And I was just kind of wondering, like, I know maybe you haven't seen all the episodes, you got a couple left, but what do you guys kind of hope that people take away after seeing, you know, kind of everything you go through and what it takes to put out that kind of music? Just because there's so many, like, important things, like, you know, in the one episode, Teresa, you kind of, I guess, advocate for Mark to come down to Tennessee and start filming some stuff there, because that's really important to who you are and how that affects your music.
Well, he said at one point I was kind of complaining that he wasn't grasping that this area is the epicenter of roots music. And the cotton farms, and that's everybody I knew growing up, unless you lived in town and were the daughter or son of a doctor or lawyer, basically dentist. You lived in the country and you picked cotton. You worked on your family's small cotton farm. I mean, everybody did. Really, everybody. It was just the, you know, and your family, when you finished on your farm, you went to your grandfather or uncles and helped them finish their getting their crop out. So I kept saying, you know, this music comes from this dirt of all the blood, sweat, and tears on this. Like, we're technically in the Mississippi Delta here. We're just on the edge of it, like the eastern edge of it. And, you know, the music that Mark said at one point, well, you're right. He like says, you're right. This film is about my record collection. And I was trying to say, yes, but your record collection comes from the roots that are here, that the Brits are the one who said, look, you guys, here's a mirror. This is your history. This is your musical history. This is where we got, you know, they're mimicking the guys from, you know, this Mississippi Delta, and kind of retaught it to us, or taught it to us for the first time, that, like, look, this is your heritage. So Mark and I were back and forth about that, and, you know, it's his film, and there are a lot of aspects of that I want him to dwell on more, but as he said, that's your film to make, which I have no plan of making a film. And then also another person involved with the project said, I think that's your film to make, because I'm obviously passionate. And I wanted to go into things like okay, we had the civil rights movement and all of these things happened. While this was going on, there was a big anniversary of the civil rights events, and Martin Luther King being shot in Memphis. And I'm like, okay, so all these things happened here, and the music was happening the whole time, obviously, and was an outward expression of what was happening. And I wanted to say, I just would like to see someday that focused on of like, that's what happened then. That's where we were this many decades ago, and where are we today, and what is the situation here now, and how could we help and make it better? That path. So that was my Mark and my tug of war about that. So they went into like in the record store, they're going through the records and all that, and that scene, and all these people, I'm like, well, they were pulling from people from this area, and that, yeah. So, but Mark's passion shines through. We just keep saying that through the whole series, and it's like, I think the executive producer, who's become a friend of ours, lovely, lovely person, family. He was saying he feels like it's a painting. He keeps getting all these varied responses about it. And it's like I kind of hesitate when you're a songwriter that you get up. I want to hear it as a listener, how and why they wrote the song. But there's a part of me that feels like we shouldn't tell why and when and how we wrote the song because a person, because I just want it to be what it means to the listener. They're going to put their own experience in it, and I don't want to cloud their experience. And the executive producer was saying, Steve Riggio, this is like a painting where so many people are coming away with such a different take on it. That's the success. That's success to me.
And, I think if the thing I hope people get out of this in a broad sense is a sense that if you find something you're passionate about and you follow that path, that alone is a success, that because
absolutely. Just from singing, just as one example, I have seen a lot of the world just because I happen to be able to sing a little bit. Seriously,
and you love doing it.
When I first got to New York, I was suddenly found myself in front of the pyramids of Giza. It's just in India, and just this kid from the cotton patch. I couldn't believe it was happening. Seriously, anything I've ever seen of the world was because I could sing a little bit.
And we met because of music. Teresa and I met because of music. We've lived our lives together, glued together by music. And when we see something eye to eye, which we usually do musically, it's kind of like adhesive. It just makes you feel closer. And the overall picture to me in this series is. You find something that moves you, you find a way to follow that path, and then you're going to move other people with it, and that's a great feeling. When somebody tells you that, when I hear like what you said about being brought to tears with a song I wrote or a song that Teresa sang and the way she sang it, there's nothing better, you helped this person, you did something that enriched this person's life in a tiny way, but that's just rewarding, it's
your job.
It's a rewarding feeling.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of liked about the series, kind of bringing it back to that it comes through as really genuine. I honestly believe you two are probably some of the most genuine people I've ever met in the industry.
Yeah.
Highest compliment. Yeah. Highest compliment. We never make a cent, but that's a high compliment.
And that kind of comes through in the one thing that I kind of liked also was when you guys were working on the song together, and Teresa, you said something to the effect of, well, I feel like I should lean kind of like back into your roots or something. And and Larry says, just be Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's about as real as it gets, you know. Just be yourself and do what you do.
That's it. Yeah.
I do get caught kind of between the two worlds of like that person who doesn't fit in anywhere anymore, because everywhere I go, they think I talk funny. So if I'm in New York, they think I talk funny. If I'm down here, they think I talk funny. So I'm not considered, belonging to either place. And it's like in the bluegrass world, once you go off the mountain, so to speak, and your ear starts hearing other things, then your kind of purity is polluted. I mean, there are a lot of bluegrass people who are really strong about that. I worked with the fiddle player, actually Hunter Berry. He played, I guess he still plays with Rhonda Vincent for years.
Great fiddle player.
Yeah, great. He was like a child prodigy practically. But you hear these guys talk about it, and some of them, their ear gets polluted by the outside world. But to some of the real purists, so sometimes I feel that way because I might hear, I've heard a lot of other things over the years, and so I kind of feel like that's
great example.
Complicated sometimes.
To me, of that is our friend Sam Bush, and he look at a time. Look at the trails that he blazed, and him and all those guys in Newgrass back then, and when the bluegrass world was even more conservative and more closed in, and he just busted every rule you could bust, but he did it with passion and he did it with authority, and sort of he was one of the creators of what's become modern bluegrass today. I mean, he's certainly, and that's because of the chances that he took, and he followed what he was hearing inside of himself instead of the trodden path of the accepted bluegrass rules.
He just went with what he was hearing other stuff he was hearing rock and roll, and he liked it.
Yeah, right.
Hey.
Yeah.
Same here. The old folks were playing country, but I was hearing rock and roll on TV and out of Memphis. The first time I saw Tina Turner on TV, I thought I was going to explode. I thought that, that shimmy dress and just the raw, talk about authentic. And, she's born like I don't know, 40 minutes to an hour, I guess like an hour or so going towards Memphis from here. I wish it was in the water because, man, I fell in love like that. And a lot of the older women were just horrified by her, just horrified. And I remember thinking, this is great.
That's funny. That kind of leads me into a question that I'd like to ask artists, because for me, kind of the reason that I do this, get involved with interviewing musicians or, photographing shows and stuff like that, is because I'm not always super confident myself in what I'm doing.
Yeah. Welcome to the party, pal. Yeah.
That's hilarious. But the one thing that I kind of like to, I guess, dig in from people who I consider like, kind of experts or people who have made it is like what kind of advice you would offer people trying to do what you do. Like kind of like for you, Teresa, when you said you went to New York and you were just, kind of a fish out of water, I guess.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was thinking about that this morning. It was like 10 years before I even just felt comfortable and not scared.
And I just kind of wondered, like, are those kind of things, was that experience just as foundational for you as singing in church? Or like for you, Larry, was it, learning 10 different instruments so that you could fit in with any band that you played in? Like what kind of advice would you offer somebody who's, kind of like on the edge of, I want to do something, but I don't really think I'm that good? Or
Well, the one thing I can tell you is I didn't think I could do anything either, but I thought, so let's start with when I started this, I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, right? So this was that, as I've said millions of times, and millions of people have had the same experience. That was the Big Bang. And I eventually thought, I have to do this. I have to learn this guitar. I have to learn how to play guitar. And I didn't know whether I had the capability, the talent, or anything. I knew, though, that nothing was going to happen without the work put into it. And fortunately, my passion and need to do this was more than enough fuel to drive the discipline car that needed to be driven steadily and through all kinds of weather and terrain to get to where my ability to do this became evident. And I mean, my only advice about this would be, you do this because your blood, your air, your everything you breathe, everything you feel is telling you to do this. And
you can't not do it.
That's right.
Because if you can talk yourself out of it,
you will.
Well, maybe you should.
Yeah,
if you can talk yourself out. But yeah.
Yeah, if it's moving you to do it, damn the torpedoes. Don't pay attention to it. My high school guidance counselor told me, he said, musicians are a dime a dozen. He said, just forget about it. He said, and whatever those vocational tests you take in high school, that pointed out that I would be best suited for manual labor. And he said I should follow that path. I mean, him telling me that was fuel for me to say, oh yeah, watch this, And I mean, when I decided I was going to play music, that I had to do it. Things like playing on the street corner for quarters, or sleeping in a van to go to a next gig, or not maybe not eating today or tomorrow or something like that. Those things were hardships, but it didn't matter. In the end, it didn't matter because I was pursuing this thing that was burning inside of me. And so, again, if you're asking advice about how to do this, just if you feel it, do it. That's it. If you feel it, don't drop it. Don't let it go. Just music or any other form of artistic expression.
And I noticed in the blurb on Amazon about this series, they say they get in a car or something like that and try to make it on their own. And I'm like, it really rubbed me the wrong way. I'm sorry to whoever wrote it. I'm sure they're probably a good friend of ours, but it just that and try to make it. I mean, I know you have to set goals and you have to, try to have the notion that you're going to do okay, to not be negative about it, of course, but the goal is not
making
if
it.
Your goal is to make it, it should just, I'm being a purist and I'm being Pollyanna maybe, but I think your goal has to be that you play, you write a good song, or you play the best show you can play that night. If the end goal is, you have to have goals. Okay, I understand that, but I don't think it can be about winning a Grammy or whatever the height to you would be.
It's got to be about you.
The substance.
Pleasing yourself, really. That's what it's got to be about. And the byproduct of that, if you're lucky, is you're pleasing a lot of other people too. But
that's a byproduct.
Yeah, right.
You got to get the first part right. That authentic, yeah.
Yeah, you find what moves you, and you figure out why it moves you in an abstract way, and you absorb that and use it to move other people.
And I don't think anybody's going to turn down a Grammy or all of that stuff. That's not my point. That's not my point. It's not like that's bad. It's just you have to have the substance of it before that's
Yeah, that's great. So one of the things that I'm always kind of curious also about is I'm kind of the opinion that the music industry and the quality of the music on the airwaves is kind of a direct result of people purposefully writing hits instead of kind of serving the music.
Amen.
So you're summing up what I just said?
Yeah,
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I'm just, for artists like yourselves who are kind of not necessarily have to be out on the road to make money, but how do you guys feel about, I guess, the way kind of the music industry is going, or the way like the new business model of you have to be on streaming services and all that kind of stuff in order to kind of get out there? How does any of that kind of play into what you guys do?
Are you talking about during the pandemic, or are you talking about just in general?
Kind of like after. I have another question about the pandemic shutting you guys down, but I mean just like, I don't have any streaming services because I don't really feel like those particular services are serving the artists in the best way possible. So when I go to a show, I buy a t-shirt or I buy an album.
Bless you.
That probably gives the artist more money in their pocket than the streaming service that, you have to have 100,000
You're probably right.
goal or whatever it is. So
yeah, that's it's piracy, it really is.
That said, there was a lady at one show or I've had this happen more than once. She said, I never heard of you guys, but I was on the treadmill today and you came up on one of those
Pandora,
services.
Spotify,
and she said, so I liked it so much. Here I am.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, it's not all, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I agree about the piracy thing at the same time.
yeah, it seems like there needs to be some major regulation on how those
they haven't caught up.
Funds are distributed back to the artist that's actually making the product they're selling,
Right. That if there was equity in this, the people who run and own these streaming services, God bless them. They should make money, but how much, why should they make all the money? That's, when it's when it is our product that they're profiting from,
And let me say that Larry, talent, this is back on an earlier question. Larry obviously has talent, but Larry works his patookie off. Larry works. I never thought I'd say anybody worked harder than my father and my mother. It might be Larry because he works and he plays so many instruments. That's a lot of maintenance. With your skill level, a lot. And as he says, the fiddle, how do you put it? The fiddle is unforgiving. You can't.
That's right. You can't ignore that for long without it biting you back,
He's up every morning practicing. It's no resting on your laurels or, musician of the year, whatever. He's up every morning with an instrument in his hand before I've even woken up. I have to run the white noise box so it doesn't waft through the house and wake me up. Yeah, he's talk about dedication. There's a lot of work behind the passion. A lot of work.
Yeah, for me that's what it is. It's I believe there are more gifted people out there who can, where it just flows much more easily and deep. But for me, anything I get out of this is because of what I put into it. That's true for anybody on a certain level. But there are. I'm listening. I hear some of these young prodigy kids playing these days, and it blows my mind, man. God bless them, man. I just raising the bar. Just keep raising that bar for something else for the next guy to come along to grab at. I think that's a beautiful thing, but. But your question, the streaming services, they are a double-edged sword because many more people have the potential to hear your music now, but it's become, as a commodity, it's become devalued too, and that's. I mean, there are two ways to look at it then. And actually the amount of music has become so ubiquitous, I mean, it always has been, but the variety of music has been, it's insane how much variety there is out there and that you can access with the push of a button, where you used to have to comb through records, and spend your hard-earned money on it now. And the fact that it's so easily accessible, that's a wonderful, accessible rather, is a wonderful thing. But at the same time, we those of us who make it and write it have to make a living, So it's But
I'm hoping some of this has a effect of highlighting how valuable live music is, a live music experience. And I know a lot of the quote kids unquote are valuing quote experiences unquote over other material things. A lot of people give that as a gift, an experience. So live music is definitely an experience after streaming. So and putting a needle down on a vinyl is also, I know that's gone, then cassettes become the thing again, and on and on. But that's a little more tactile, putting the needle down on the vinyl, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I buy probably 95% of my music is vinyl. I buy it on vinyl, and then, if it comes with a download card, I download it. If I don't, I'm probably going to buy the the CD or digital download as well. So
yeah.
I always try to support the artist as much as I possibly can.
Bless you.
So I know Larry got hit with COVID. My wife actually went through that as well, and thankfully,
so sorry,
I'm out healthy and on this side. So, and then obviously you guys can now be together again because you were separated during that time, weren't you?
Yes.
7 weeks. Teresa had to stay at the apartment in the city, and I was at the house in Woodstock, and it was miserable. I mean, I've never been so sick in my life, and thank God for neighbors who would come by and drop cartons of soup at the door, and
the music community, just our neighbors who are like family to us, and then the music community who are also our other family up there. Yeah. Coordinating food drops at the door. He could barely get to the door to even pick up the food. It was, it was.
Did that kind of allow for you guys to work on, anything at all that you had kind of been putting off, or you just kind of, after that experience now getting, I guess, what are you working on, or what's coming up next that...
Well, for me, I had been whining and moaning, I will admit, for a few years that my parents are going, were needing me. And I was going to have to take time. I didn't know how. I told Larry at some point, I said, look, within the next few months, couple of years here, something has to change, and it's not going to be comfortable for you, either geographically, financially, emotionally, I don't know, but I'm going to have more time here with my parents, and I want it, who knows how long I'll have them. And I'd been away. I'd moved to New York. I spent most of my adult life, when I got to New York, trying to get to New York and then trying to get home. So it's allowed me to be here with them, like Larry said, at a time when they really need me. And I want to be with them. I want to just hang out with them. I laugh harder. I laugh so hard around my mother and father. I can't. Ask Larry. It's ridiculous. We'll laugh so hard for so long. And I remember that growing up, just literally rolling in the floor laughing So the storm blows in, and it's a pretty volatile storm. And then in the next 5 minutes, we're all just dying laughing over something. So it's a lot of fun. As far as projects go, I feel like I've just been able to exhale from being on the road for so many years. When we started doing our own thing, it's like starting a mom and pop at our age. It's different to be doing it together from where we both were on our own. And then I feel like I'm just now, like maybe starting this new year, feeling like, okay, what creative stuff. I know a lot of people have just been pouring themselves into that alone, but I feel like my time is really, as Larry said, my dad has Alzheimer's, so we have to be up front and personal with that right now, and it's never a dull moment. So but I'm just now starting to feel like what is next on the creative front.
Yeah, that's a good thing. This is Teresa really needed to recharge.
I needed, like I said, we've got to take a year off. We've got to take 6 months off. We have to.
And that's the fortunate side of this pandemic for us, because I would have just kept going and going and going. And, certainly sympathetic for her feelings and situation here.
Now he's here fixing the tractor. He's fixed the bush hog. He fixes my mother's birdhouse. He's building shelving for me.
And I'm able to go back and forth and still keep my fingers in the recording industry,
And I call this building shelving and fixing the tractor and stuff like that. I call that, as they say, filling the well.
Yeah, and that's
and
what
you
it
need
feels
it.
like. Yeah.
You need it.
And I, when I got through this COVID thing, I felt empty, just empty, and like I had to sort of rebuild myself. And I started.
He's still not fully. No, taste and smell is still not fully back, and he got his double negative at the end of April.
Yeah.
Just so people know what it can do. Yeah, but I said if that's the least thing that happens, other people are having to relearn to walk. So yeah.
And so what I did when I felt like I could finally pick up an instrument was I started revisiting, a part of my musical roots, and I did a couple of a cappella app videos where I filmed myself playing as a one-man bluegrass band, playing banjo, fiddle, mandolin, and it that sort of it gave me, just to be able to get through a couple of tunes like that, gave me incentive. It gave me a goal to get back my to revisit my musicality, and
I knew he was getting the better when he had COVID, and it was really scary. And the best I could get out of him in a day was maybe a laugh over Andy Griffin in the evenings, because that's all he could kind of handle watching. It was so low. It was that dark. And then I knew he was starting to feel better the day he picked up a mandolin.
Yeah.
Just picked it up for 5 minutes. That was hope.
And since then, I've been producing a few records and playing on a few records, and I feel like I'm back in the swing of it. I'm back to who I'm supposed to be. And now I've written a few songs, hopefully for another studio record for Teresa and I down the road here. And, it's all, I'm feeling alive again. Let's put it that way. I think this is going to be, once we get through this will be a good year for a lot of people.
And I just want to say, I'm grateful for the side effect that we have had this time. I mean, nobody wants their work to be shut down, including us. But you just find the positive where you can get it. And I certainly don't. I just really, my heart goes out to all the people who have really suffered during this, physically and financially, loss of loved ones or someone who's still sick. My heart goes out to them. I don't want to blithely, brush that aside as we talk about finding the positive either, but there is hope. There is hope out there, and hang on. I guess is what I'm telling people. Hang on.
I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Larry and Teresa for coming on the podcast and talking with me. Besides being incredible musicians, they are also incredible human beings. Their genuine nature and sincerity has shown through both times that I've had the pleasure of interacting with them, and I hope in the near future to see them again and have some more conversation or just sit around and play some music together. Thank you to Mark Moskowitz, Stephen Reggio, and the entire cast and crew that worked on It Was the Music. You can stream those episodes on Amazon, Fans, and Vimeo, and I also suggest visiting itwasthemusic.net to learn even more about the series. I want to thank my sponsors, PureMountainCoffee.com and Black Cat Bone Productions, for continuing to support the podcast, and I look forward to bringing you new episodes very soon. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you all down the road.